Welcome to the Business Today show. My name is Kelly Kingston, your host, and I have a very special guest joining us tonight. I only met her just over a week ago now, I think a week, nearly 2 weeks ago, and when we connected, it was like, oh my gosh, where have you been? Well, it was for me anyway, and I hope it was for her because now she's touched a part of my life where I can know that it's okay to be me in my space. And as long as I don't have any judgment over me or anyone else in that space, I know that I am being true to who I am. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce my special guest. Her name is Anthea Balfour. Anthea supports, aspires visionaries and change makers in unlocking their full potential, full human potential, by giving them the invaluable resources of sincere and compassionate self-awareness. As a trauma-informed emotional intelligence and human behavioural specialist, Anthea focuses her expertise and relationships, leaderships, and Anthea focuses her expertise on relationships, leaderships, and cultural development. I just needed to fix that up. Please make welcome Anthea.
Oh, thank you. My goodness. Kelly, you're so beautiful.
You're so beautiful. Thank you so much for coming into my life when you did. It was so amazing.
Yeah, the feeling is so mutual. Like, I just want to say right now, it was, I was like, has it only been a week? Or was it only a few weeks ago? Because I know we've only managed to sort of chat like very sporadically since then, and this is really our first proper conversation since then, but it definitely feels very synchronous. And yeah, well, we know, like, it just feels very much meant to be, and I'm really grateful for you and for this opportunity. Thank you.
And the feeling is reciprocated with you. I don't know, you know, when you just meant to meet, you go to an event, and this is where we met, right? Let's share that experience with people, because I really feel that it's something special. Because I don't go to networking events, and we shared this story with each other. And you said, well, guess what? Neither do I. And we spent, I was at the door waiting to put in the code, and the code's not working. And beautiful Anthea.
Yep, I come, and I was actually on the phone at the time. I'd walked out the room to take a call, and Kelly's at the door, and I see her, and I open the door, and she's walked through, and I'm feeling very rude and antisocial on the call. So finish up the call, and I went straight to her to apologise for not greeting her properly. And well, she poured a glass of wine, and I was like, yes. And then we got chatting, and it was like, wow, this woman is just absolutely phenomenal. And it just felt really beautiful. And, you know, like you were saying, you know, I'm actually quite an introvert, and I tend to be on the peripheries of like networking events when I do go. And it was just really beautiful to actually connect with you, you know, so quickly and so authentically, and to be able to just talk and express ourselves. It was just like sitting next to an old friend. Like, that's really my honest feeling. It was really special, and I'm really grateful.
Yeah, me too. And so then I kind of whipped her up, and I said, come on, come be a part of my show. And then she goes, yay, we get to hang out and be recorded and be watched by lots of people.
Yes. I'm just so grateful for you, Kelly. I just admire your work and everything that you stand for, and just the sincerity and authenticity you bring to quantum medicine, and the way in which you disseminate it. Like, you're just magic. I love it, and I really respect the work you do.
Oh, thank you. I feel like I'm going to need a tissue. No one's ever said that to me before. Oh, thank you, beautiful.
Oh, such a pleasure. Such a pleasure.
All right. On that note, we're going to get stuck into this interview. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I read the questions, haven't thought of any answers, so.
That's okay. It'll be what it'll be. All righty. So, Anthea, how did you get started in your business?
Okay. Wow. Yeah. So I guess officially I've only been in business for 2 years. I set up my company March 2018. Maybe even May actually. So it'll be 2 years this year. And I started in my company's called Euphoria Group, and I opened up holistic health and wellness called the O Room Tantra Wellness Studio. And I'd gone on a bit of a personal development journey. I'd been consulting for quite some years in functional nutrition. And yeah, I'd just been on my own journey, and I was initiated into the tantric philosophy and physical practices of Tantra. And my life changed. And I was like, how does, everybody needs to know about Tantra, and everybody needs to know about their body and the magic that is the human body and the human mind for that matter. And I just went about and studied all the ways that I could really credibly bring what I was taught through my tantric initiations to into a mainstream field that was accessible to people. And so I started off in tantra massage, which is what the O Room Tantra Wellness Studio started off as: tantric massage, breath work, like clearing the chakra systems, vibrational medicine, things like that. Yeah, and it was really my love. And this has been throughout all the businesses I've started and discontinued and started, always comes back to my love for humanity and to just want to see the world thrive I just love people. And I'm like an empath to empath. Like we sometimes can feel like the suffering. And sometimes that feeling like can really pull, like when when I'm connected to like that heartbeat, and you can feel like, you can feel that. And this was such a beautiful, Tantra was such a beautiful outlet to actually relieve myself of feeling so much and actually experience the bliss as well as the collective suffering that we go through. And the O Room Tantra Wellness Studio was a space I'd created for people who are really wanting healing, whatever that may mean for them, whether it's just a massage or whether it was therapy, to come and be human and be witnessed in that. And it's just flourished to today. And it's changed in so many ways over the last 2 years, like in all the ways. Like I absolutely had no idea about business until I started a business, funnily enough. And damn it, did I learn like some big lessons, which has led me to here and now, where it's evolved in it's evolved beyond me, which has been amazing. But it's also given me so much capacity to work on so many incredible projects, and with so many incredible people. Like I've just been appointed as training and program director for an organization called Love Out Loud, which is just phenomenal.
And that's with Nicole Gibson, isn't it?
Yeah. Like just, and like you, she just lives and breathes what she believes and what she's putting out there.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether you've heard sort of the whole kind of like conscious business movement and conscious leadership and all that sort of thing, and which resonates with my heart so much, because that's where I've always come from. But it was quite disheartening in the first kind of 18 months where I was feeling like connecting to conscious businesses and stuff, but actually that didn't necessarily materialize or wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And so to actually be a part of and meet really sincere, authentic, heart-centered, moving from a deep, energetic trust and faith in our reality, Nick, and you just embody that so deeply. And I'm just like there for that, for anyone that is embodying that truth of us as a human family and doing our bit to work towards the collective and shift our vibrations. Like I'm there. So it's been such an amazing experience to facilitate and train with Love Out Loud and be trusted. Yeah, I'm so grateful for that. So it's been a wild ride the last 2 years. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Now, I have your bio in front of me, I should say, and it says the areas of speciality include sexual energy management, human sexual and social behaviours. Now, I'm just going to do this in little segments. Can you share a little bit about what that actually is? Like, is that part of the tantric? Is that orgasm, talking about orgasms and are people getting enough or are they not getting any? What does that mean?
Yeah, so sexual energy management essentially is all energy. Sexual energy, the energy is known as life force, prana, chi. How, depending on what school of philosophy you're coming from, it might be different, but sexual energy is essentially prana, or our life force energy. And so when I started with the Om Tantra Wellness Studio, I was teaching sexual transmutation, and I was working with men and women, teaching them how to bring arousal into their body, how to cultivate it, feel it, and then project it outwards into more focused and intent ways. So when I was working with men, for example, it may be they've come to me for sex addiction, and so they have a hyper aroused nervous system and they don't know what they're doing. I don't actually believe in those particular labels, but just for the sake of brevity. And so I would teach them exactly how to feel their sexual energy in their body, where it's coming from, and how to direct that into things other than, say, ejaculation. And so sexual energy in a woman's body works very differently to sexual energy in a man's body. And so I would teach them that, and that would be for focus, productivity, emotional management, testosterone increase, serotonin increase, and again for women as well, it does amazing things for our hormones in terms of balancing it out, in terms of managing our moods, even our weight, of course, because it completely balances our endocrine system when we're doing the physical practices of tantric yoga. So that's what I mean by sexual energy management. It's just learning how to feel and cultivate and connect to this electrical force that's within our body and how that connects to our mind and vice versa. And then that includes working with women that are having problems with connecting to their sexuality, whether it's finding it difficult to orgasm, or whether they're finding it difficult to actually relax during sex, or it might be that they're hyper aroused but they're never actually feeling connected sexually. So from like completely through the various different spectrums of how we might express our sexuality is how I've worked with both my male and female clients, and that's really manifested into working with business owners in terms of how to collectively manage sexual energy, because everything is energy. So understanding, how can I read a room and the energy? How are these two people communicating? How are they using their energy to communicate with each other? Where's the tension? Where's the contraction? Where's the expansion? And teaching these things, and how they are as business leaders, and how are they bringing their energy into how they lead. So that's what it's really unfolded into, is leadership and business mentoring. And the other side to that, which is such a deep and like real personal love for me, is working with women that has experienced sexual trauma, and working with them in that capacity to really heal on a cellular and biophysical level, to actually remove stagnant energy out of their body, and really get to the subconscious issues that are lying dormant, that's still manifesting in their life today. We use sexual energy to actually to recalibrate the subconscious mind, and start building new belief patterns, and integrating new stories so that they can really heal and really go on without relapsing.
Yeah, that sounds so amazing. That sounds like something similar that I've just been through, that we just spoke about before we came on here tonight, about, you know, changing old habits, and, you know, not playing the victim, which I played a lot of years, until I actually then realised that I was in control and I needed to be responsible for my own life, and everything that was attracted or coming into my life, it was a play out of what I actually really wanted in the first place. And I found that really hard from a mental perspective, or a mindfulness perspective, to go, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Why wasn't I taught this at school? And how come I'm just learning this now? And yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. And, you know, it's been like, as women, like, we've all had this conversation with ourselves. Like, we've all been in that headspace at some point in our life. And having worked so closely with women for quite a long time, even when I was consulting as a functional nutritional therapist, it's that, you know, we have got this collective energy where women are just put in this box. And again, depending on our attachment style and our childhood experiences, we've really been given very specific ways in which we can get our needs met. And for most women, we've learnt that being a damsel in distress is probably the quickest and easiest way to get our needs met. And so the victim mentality makes sense. It's a very subconscious kind of press play that we can do when we're feeling overwhelmed, and when we're feeling like we need to protect ourselves and we need to take care of ourselves. If our patterning has been like, okay, well, when I'm the victim, I actually get my needs met, it makes sense that we're going to go into that mentality, you know?
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things, like I say to all my clients, because everybody feels like such a sense of shame when they, like, the victim mentality, the lack mentality, whatever the story is that's not, you know, positive, everybody feels this sense of shame. And I always say, no, that is exactly what you're supposed to do under, or feel under, the conditions that you're under. It's a natural response mechanism. It's just that you now get to be empowered and decide whether that response is going to serve you or continue to serve you or not. And you get to decide, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, I always feel like our humanity is not to be labeled. Like, we just are who we are, and we get to decide whether we choose that or otherwise. And does that feel good or not? Is it hurting others or not? Like, that's really all we have to do. We get to be human, and we get to accept all of ourselves and others. And in that, we get to just take radical responsibility. Yeah.
So in part of your bio, it says that you do ancient spiritual techniques with the tantric and Taoist art. Can you share a little bit about that, and where it actually derives from?
Yeah, sure. So Tantra, there are various different schools of Tantra. We have the Tibetan and Buddhist tantric schools. And then we also have the Hindu tantric and the Vedas that I was actually initiated through. And so Tantra actually means to weave or to expand or move through. And it's such a huge concept. Like Tantra in and of itself for me is a way of life. It's the way I choose to live. In short, for me, how I describe it is Tantra is a way of making love to life. We are a physical body and we experience life through our five senses, and we get to observe life and control it through the senses following that, which to me are numerous. But if we're just talking about our physical form, Tantra enables us to experience life on the physical plane through a really, in a really ecstatic, accepting, surrendered and sacred way. That's how I commit to experiencing my life and commit to experiencing the people that I engage with. And that's really ultimately what Tantra teaches us. I was initiated into what is sometimes called the left-hand path of Tantra. And that is a deep dive essentially into the subconscious mind. And it's a deep dive into very, very esoteric teachings and practices. And that's what I was taken through for quite some years. And still, like, I'm always a student of Tantra and always an initiate. You know, that saying, you know, every level of your life is going to, you know, require another version of you. And that's essentially the tantric path, is to continuously follow your bliss, die for it, or be born again. And as I was, when you're practicing like the physical aspects to Tantra, so breath work, and Kriya Yoga and Kundalini Yoga are the physical practices of Tantra, or a few of them. Your body, it's a very cellular change. So my energy body became very, very clear. So where I was quite empathic and sensitive before, once I started practicing Tantra, we hear the terms vessels and conduits and channels, etc. When your body, so with the breath work, it actually cleans your blood. That's what happens. And the blood in the female body is what is carrying the electrical impulses to our cells and everything else. So the cleaner our blood is, the clearer the electricity is running through our body, and the clearer the communication between our mind and our body is occurring, like very, very fast. So your body feels very much like, well, it doesn't feel, it just is. I don't know, you essentially become an antenna. I'm trying to sound normal. I'm just realizing I'm trying to sound normal. That you become a very clear antenna. Our bodies are antennas. And when you're practicing Tantra and your field becomes clear and purified, because you're actually removing the blockages within your field. And like I say to my clients, our bodies are like this massive electrical motherboard. And when something happens and it's unresolved, a light switch goes off. And sometimes that light switch can cause a whole connected, row of streets to go off. And Tantra lightens up that motherboard again, where our body is an entire electrical system. And through breath work and the various different tantric practices, we are reigniting literally these electrical systems. They're known as nadis in Tantra. And through doing the mudras, which so they're nadis in Tantra, but it's our nervous system essentially. So I studied and trained in somatic therapy and somatic and sexological bodywork, which teaches us extensively about the nervous system. And we'll understand that as well as the meridian system within Chinese medicine, for example. And it's an extensive school of education that incorporates mind, body, and soul. It's really, for me, the most sincerest form of holistic practice I could do, that gives my clients every opportunity for healing. Yeah.
Oh, you are so beautiful. Do you know that? I've never met anyone like you that gives when I say the wholeness, and I know so many people give all that they are to things that they do, but when I say holistic, I mean every aspect of your beingness through to the DNA core structure of your body that you have just encumbered your whole life of study, education, knowledge, sharing your wisdom. And not only are you doing all that, you're then supporting and helping and guiding and inspiring people to be a better version of themselves, which is holy moly off the chart as far as I'm concerned, Miss.
Oh, thank you so much. That is so received, and I feel so grateful. I've been so blessed and privileged, you know, in my lifetime that I've had the time to study and train, and this is what I say to my clients, you know, these things are out there readily available for us to learn, and society is not set up that way where we can actively participate in our own authentic or not authentic but organic self-development. When, you know, my heritage is African, I'm from South Africa, and I have it in my blood and my bones to be in sister circles and to be with my aunties and to learn from my elders. I left Cape Town when I was very young, but that sits very much in my system. And I know that essentially we would have gone through these ceremonial practices and these initiates rites and stuff as a way of life and experiencing things. And unfortunately, our system's not set up that way. We've ventured too far away from our humanness to become part of an orchestrated machine. And I honor the fact that I get to be a benefactor of the orchestrated machine in many different ways, and I honor that. But I also want to honor the fact that we're humans and we need to stop and flourish and be and breathe and just be like the trees and the flowers. Like, you know, one of the things that Tantra really brought out in me was my shamanic roots. I'm still uncomfortable with saying that, but that's just what has transpired in my practice completely by accident, which really freaked me out. But I've been really lucky, and it's such a testament to my clients who've really trusted me in allowing me to take them on journeys, and you know, where I've like certain things have happened in session where I'm like, so you know, this thing's just kind of come to me, it's not my stuff, and I'm just want to ask you a few questions, are you happy? And they're like, whoa, yeah. So all very weird stuff has happened in the session that is beyond my intellectual capacity to explain. And I just want to reiterate the fact that I come from a very cynical background about like anything woo-woo and spiritual, because my family were just nuts, and I just thought they were just nuts because we'd hear the most crazy stories about like supernatural and all that kind of thing. So I was just like, no. So I was very much intellectual, and I've studied and I've studied and I've studied. And but one thing remains, just completely sincere in the fact that as human beings, we're so completely inexplicable and undefinable. And all we get to do is explore and be curious about that. And that's what I just really love, is we get to explore and be curious about who we're continuously unfolding into as humans. Yeah.
So my next question was going to be for you is, when did you realize that this was your calling?
I don't know. Like, it's really funny. I just really have loved people always. And I realized that when I was working for an insurance company, and they had a script that I just couldn't for the life of me go through it all. And I was essentially fired for being too polite because I just couldn't, I just thought like I did not want to conduct myself in this way and essentially fearmonger people into buying things. So I was like, that's interesting. Like, it just became really apparent to me, like, where my boundaries were in terms of how I wanted to engage with people. And I'd already done a degree in psychology before in England, like many moons ago. Never really used that at all. And then I was in communications and marketing for a while, which was not good. And again, it was because of the interaction and the lack of humanity that I was experiencing that I didn't seem to resonate with at all. Despite loving the people and the job, there just seemed to be something missing. So when I got made redundant from my last sort of corporate position, I decided to go in and study functional nutritional therapy and researched extensively into epigenetics, which just totally blew my mind. And I just decided then that, like, I want to just teach people how to just that their body is a miracle. And sorry, just a quick segue. And that really came, the catalyst was I suffered from like terrible seizures, and the doctors basically didn't know where these seizures were coming from, and they called them pseudo seizures, which basically meant that it was a somatic response to stress. And it was me understanding my body and why this was happening to me that I was like, wow, like we have our body really is so wise to to an extent I could never articulate sufficiently. And if everyone just had even a piece of knowledge in terms of how they can control their body, let alone like their reality, but just their body, how in control they are of their body, like that could change the world. And it was happening upon epigenetics that I was like, oh my God, everyone just needs to know epigenetics and understand the concept of epigenetics, and that's going to change the world. And so that's what I did. I decided to consult in nutritional therapy and tell people about epigenetics, and it just went on from there.
And so how old were you when you did that?
That was 8 years ago. Oh, okay. No. When did, my God, I have no concept of time anymore. What year are we in? 2020. So 2015. So 5 years ago when maybe 2013 actually, when I was still studying nutrition, because I was working and still studying because, it was 2013 because it was the year that I was getting married, that I was studying and working for this corporate finance company at the time. And I was studying nutrition because I actually wanted to lose weight for my wedding. So that's the only reason why I was studying nutrition. There was no other reason than that.
I don't know anybody else that would actually study nutrition to lose weight before they got married.
Yeah, so I lost like 30 kilos, and then I got made redundant maybe like 6 months after that, and I was like, okay, I qualified as a nutritional therapist. Let's see what happens. And so I'd never actually intended on doing anything with that at all. That was the hand of fate.
Okay, cool. So out of all that and leading right up until now, what has been your toughest struggle in business?
Can I be completely candid?
Yes, I want you to be.
People.
Is that because people won't get out of their own way? Yeah. So can I just share something with you, and you might be able to shed some light on this? I think I might have shed some light on it for myself, but when somebody said to me one day, and it was probably about 8 years ago, Kelly, you need to get out of your own way. As soon as you get out of your own way, you'll see the light. And I'm just like, what are you saying? Like,
literally.
how did you get out of my own way?
You just did it. Our body's so phenomenal. You just did it. Whatever is in front of you right now, move it aside, walk on through.
And once I actually learned that, like, honestly, that's the first thing I did. As soon as somebody said it, and they go, there you go. I'm just like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Yeah, there you go. I'm just like,
yeah.
It took me a while.
And, you know, and actually this is my biggest lessons, is that my teacher, he used to have this expression, because what would happen, like when I'd go to my teacher and we'd do some tantric initiation ceremonies, etc., I'd literally sit at his feet, and he's a Pakistani man named Sultan. He's just amazing. And we met when I moved to Brisbane for the first time, and I'd go, and I was a mess. Like, I'd just split from my husband and I'd been separated for quite some time. But there was just such a new transition in my life, and I was just like, I was really quite lost. Everything looked really great, but I was very, very lost on the inside. And I met Sultan, who happened to be my neighbor into this new house that I'd moved into. And I'd walk down the stairs, and I went and sat, and I was sitting crying on the little table, and he's come out of his house, and he doesn't speak very much English. So we just got chatting, and I would teach him things in English. I would tell him English things, and he'd tell me all these things. And I was talking to him a bit about my relationship with my partner at the time, and he was just teaching me all these things, and we were just going through all these different practices. But my point being, Sultan said, one of the biggest lessons Sultan taught me, he goes, you know, stop pulling the donkey. Like, I'd come to him and I'd say the same thing about some problem that I was just not, you know, grasping. And he's like, Anthea, you're pulling the donkey. Stop pulling the donkey. When you pull the donkey, you're making an ass of yourself. Like, you know, and what he was saying to me was, there are people in our life that, you know, and this is anybody, that we have to respect where they're at. We have to respect. And I think that's where we make it really difficult for ourselves, is that we want people, and like, I was so guilty of this, where I had like all this knowledge, and I was like, oh my God, everybody needs to know this. And I just kind of wanted to ram it down everyone's throat. And then I was like, oh my God, like, why don't you get it? You know? And it was actually like, we really have to respect and meet people where they're at. And sometimes we make it really hard for ourselves when we want someone to be somewhere where they're not, and they're not there yet. And I think that's the truth. It's not actually people that's difficult in business. It was my own expectations of others that weren't met, that made business quite difficult for me. I was very naive, ultimately. I was very naive, and you know, we see the world as we are, we really do. And yeah, I was very naive. And so I had a lot of very testing experiences where my love for humanity was very tested. It was, because I felt very disheartened at times, you know, in business, where you're trusting people, like with your livelihood and with your passion, and you're really trusting them, and they let you down. So trust issues was like a really big thing for me in my first few years of business, like connecting with the right people that had the same vision as you, that had the same mission as you. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you know, you're going to collaborate or anything, but there's a mutual respect and understanding and love for each other and what you do. And it's really taken me up until now to really recognize what that looks like in business, what that feels like, how that manifests and how that materializes, so that I can make beautiful connections like you and the people that I have in my life in business now. That just feels really blessed and beautiful, and it doesn't feel like business at all. And that's what I'm all about, is actually moving away from, you know, a very rigid corporate structure to something that is in the middle of, like, you know, where we do need the systems and processes to function and manage and be economical and sustainable, but where our humanness can also be accepted and be a part of that experience and leverage the way we do business. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I dare you to repeat what you just said just then.
I'll watch the replay.
So thank you for sharing that. That was really cool, because that's probably one of my toughest things that I've needed to go through for me, especially being extremely spiritual and naive about business, stepping into business and then losing a little bit of my spirituality to find my business reality, to then go, oh my gosh, I need to bring the two together to combine spirituality and business so that the heart-based entrepreneur, business owner can really start to sink their hands, their teeth and their paws into their business from a co-creator's reality perspective.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I love what you do, because you do it, you've just created the system and it's just so fluent in that. It's you've just created it with such fluency, and it's so dynamic. I just love it. I love it so much. I'm such a fangirl. Like, I really am. Yeah. And it's so needed though. Like, I don't know if you've heard of a guy called Amit Goswami.
No, I haven't.
He talks extensively about energy economics, and I first came across him maybe 3 or 4 years ago now. Been studying his work and listening to his teachings and stuff, and he talks about energy economics. And that was like 4 or 5 years ago. And what's been really beautiful and validating for me, and why I just love you so much as well, is seeing these things come into fruition, things that may have been like such far-fetched concepts even 2 or 3 years ago, that that like now, you know, like on an energetic level, like we have shifted so much into the feminine, you know, stratosphere, and business has to follow suit to actually remain relevant. And your concept like fully like aligns with Amit Goswami's concept of energy economics, where no longer are we going to be necessarily looking for, you know, the sales guns, but those people that hold a certain vibratory field that is going to attract others to them, to be able to provide the services and the products that consumers want.
Totally.
And it's that's just so like, you just see that now, like that's what's happening. That's what the market's asking for, if we're gonna, like, you know, use those terms. But people are looking for that. People are looking for heart-based, conscious, and I like calling it meaningful and purposeful life experiences, whether you're buying a product or a service, whether it's, you know, business to business or business to consumer, whatever it is. People want to feel that connection now. Like, no one wants to be sold to anymore, like nobody under any, and I think that's where, you know, it's just so beautiful that your system creates a business plan where that completely incorporates the heart-based. Well, to me, it's like you know, it's like the blood and guts of our body, you know, that real what the foundations really come down to. And you see that with like failing companies, in the respect of, you just see where it's gone completely wrong because the foundations in and of itself wasn't built, you know, in a really solid heart-based strong space. And so the cracks begin to appear. And like, one of the things that I consult in a lot is like communication breakdowns within businesses and in teams. And that's, you know, communication needs to be so strong, like right from the beginning. And so I really admire what you've created to bring that to the fore. And it just excites me because Amit was talking about that quite some years ago. So to see it like here is like very exciting.
You used to like see it right there where you can nearly touch it.
Yeah, it's to me, it's like, yes.
So my next question is, what advice would you give somebody that's starting off in business like you were 2 years ago, just getting started, or maybe if they're like 3 to 6 months, maybe 12 months in their business and they're struggling a little bit? What advice would you give them?
Definitely reach out. Like, do find your tribe. And actually that makes me feel very emotional, because it's just taken me back to that place where I was very much overwhelmed with, like, I'd taken a leap of faith, as I always do. I really love to kind of just jump in head and heart first and see what happens. Like, that's how I've basically lived my life. And this is how I know that there must be something greater than myself, because I always end up okay despite the mad decisions that I make. And with my business, yeah, it was a massive risk that I took. And sort of halfway through, I was like, oh my God, like, what have I done? What have I done? And I was so lucky to have like the support of my family around me, but I think it would have been so much easier had I stepped out of my ego and actually reached to people that I resonated with and felt safe to say, hey, you know, do you know about this, or what do you think about that? Yeah, to really find your people, to find your, like, I value the people in my life in business so much. Like, that's why I'm so excited about you, because it's like, yes, another person, like, yes, you know, because yeah, we, you know, it's so important even in business. And I mean, for me, I'm so blessed because of the work that I do. I have a lot of clients that have become peers and colleagues, that also that have become now friends. And so there's like this different dynamic in my world that's happening. And it's only since last year when I made an active choice to put myself out there and to actually connect to people and be vulnerable, and to really embody my work and my knowledge to a greater extent, rather than just in the safety of my office and in the safety of my home and my community, but to actually put myself out there and be vulnerable in front of people who I might not know, but might actually be my people, my tribe. And yeah, you just don't know who your people are until you put yourself out there. Like, you can moan about being the lone wolf for as long as you want, and that will be the case until you actually put yourself out there and wait for your people will find you. And that's and since I made that choice to actually go out there and be me and connect with others, have I made such beautiful connections. Yeah, people is business and business is people, and the quicker you find the people you connect with and you can trust and grow with in business, my business acumen in literally like the last 6 months alone has like exponentially improved and increased. My opportunities have just flourished, and I've had so many over the 2 years, but what's actually just been really aligned and easy and felt good, you know, much like this experience, exponentially increased since my network has become so beautifully aligned with who I am and what I believe. And like, and everybody, and it's really beautiful because there's like these 6 degrees of separation between everyone I know. So on Facebook, I'll be like, oh my God, so-and-so know each other too. Like, it's so lovely. Like, the energy is just so contagious, and everybody, you know, you know energy, you're just vibrating at the same space, and it just continues to multiply. That energy is just so expansive that the more you connect to it, the more you receive. And yeah, that's been really the most valuable part of my business, is the people that are a part of it, the people that I attract that want to work with me, and the people that I connect with and I feel authentically drawn to. that's really, I feel, what makes me successful really is the people that I connect with on a daily basis. Yeah.
Awesome. So the moral of the story is to get out of your own way and to put yourself out there. Yeah?
For sure, absolutely. And it's so funny, the universe cracks me up because I was in PR in my early 20s, and it was probably one of the first businesses I started was my own PR company, and I was working with social enterprises. And I remember the slogan to it was like, you know, get yourself out there. And I was so happy to get anybody out there, and I would, you know, I'd sing from the rooftops for anyone, but if anyone was to like say, hey, I would be like, no, it's okay, I'm happy being in the background, which my family thought was really weird because I'm a Leo. But that's what I've always been like. I'm actually quite introverted like that. But it was really beautiful to just really claim yourself and be proud of yourself. And again, this sort of self-responsibility of like, you know, I deserve to be a part of this worldly experience, you know?
Yeah.
That's something that I say to my clients all the time, is when we're in authentic resonance with ourselves, the universe hears us because our sound is our sound. And so the universe knows what path to put us on.
Yeah.
And the only way that can really happen in terms of like physical manifestation is if we put ourselves amongst all the other flowers and be there and be part of the collective vibrancy and the collective sound that we're all making. But if we're standing on the sidelines just waiting for someone to be like, come on, or waiting for permission to do that, like it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen in the way that is going to be feeling like empowering for us, you know? Like it's wonderful being picked on the dance floor. Like, yeah, everybody wants to be picked for a dance on the dance floor, but how empowering is it to just decide that you're going to go in the dance floor and you're going to do your dance?
Yeah.
Right? A different feeling, both great, but deciding for yourself that you're going to claim your space in the world and just get out there and you find your people and they're drawn to you, like that's very empowering experience to be in.
Yeah, totally empowering. So how can people find you if they want to work with you?
They can find me at Love Out Loud. I'm currently I can't believe we're literally just 3 months into the year. I feel like my year has only just begun, and I also feel like the year has been like, it's been like 6 months into the last 3. So you can find me on the Love Out Loud website. I have my profile and that on there, and I'm Anthea on Instagram as well. I direct you to the Om Tantra Wellness Studio website, but we're actually completely revamping that, so it's not live yet. But there is the Om Tantra Wellness Studio Facebook page, and there's also the Om Instagram, and my Instagram handle is @IamAnthea. Yeah.
Cool. And so thank you for sharing.
Thanks for asking.
My last kind of question, it's not really a question, it's if you could change one thing about your life today, what would it be?
Okay.
Embrace yourself. Embrace yourself.
Well, I have lost sight of the little pleasures that I used to get, because I have been like, you know, when you're in business, you're always in creative mode and you're focusing on the big vision, and it's really beautiful. But I remember before business, and I was just not mum and those sorts of things, and I take real pleasure in like buying a pair of shoes. And so I think now now that you've brought that to my attention, I feel like I want to take more pleasure in those things. Like we get, as you know, our business wins are like, yes, made rent on the premises, yes, got my first client, broke even. Like we've got all these like big goals that we're meeting in business, which is amazing. And over the last 2 years, like, I've grown in such exponential and beautiful ways, but I have left old parts of myself behind that I actually really enjoyed, like the woman that really loved buying shoes. I haven't bought a pair of shoes this year. So I guess the answer is, as you're growing, always pay homage to the woman you were that got you there. You know, remember how far you've come to be where you are. And sometimes it can be easy to forget that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, do you have any last words that you would like to say?
Just thank you so much. I knew this would be fun. It's been fantastic. This is my first ever interview, so thank you.
Oh my gosh, that is so amazing. Thank you so much for saying yes.
I'm so grateful, Kelly. I'm just so grateful. You're such a beautiful woman, and I'm just really grateful. I'm just really thankful, and I'm really thankful for everybody that's tuned in and been a part of this with us. So grateful that you've taken your time out to be here with us. I'm just really thankful. My heart's really full.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. If you have had an experience with Anthea's story and you need some guidance or support or help, just reach out to us and we can put you in contact with Anthea, and she would be more than happy to support you wherever you need support at this particular point in time. My name is Kelly Kingston and I've been your host for the Business Today show. This show was sponsored by the Wellness Business Academy. That is where you can get a spiritual and business plan for you and your business to raise your frequency. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you are in the world, and we hope that you have a lovely evening, morning or afternoon. Thank you so much. Bye for now.